Talk with Katie and Lindsey.
Yes. Hi. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a little out of it and having a tough time tracking, which is part of the grieving process.
Yeah.
Anyways, my name is Katie Hutchinson, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm also a certified mediator. And we're very happy to have you here today. We're going to continue our discussion on grief because it's such a big
An important topic.
An important, thank you.
Yeah.
An important topic.
And it's a long journey.
And it's a very long journey. And when people say the DSM says it's 3 months,
you can't put a time limit on that stuff.
No,
you can't.
Especially,
I think they do that so that you have a spot to gauge. Like if you go over these time periods, there might be some, like we might need a little help.
Well, you need help anyhow.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not in agreement with their time stuff.
No, but I'm not in agreement at all.
I'm Lindsey Kearns. I'm the mama behind MalibuMamaLoves.com. And I'm also a certified conscious trauma-informed life coach. So as you guys know, Katie very suddenly and very unexpectedly lost her dad. And we thought that this was a kind of a unique opportunity to be able to open up to you guys about the grieving process, for you to see that, you know, even therapists with as many tools as we have, we still have to go through that grief process. And we wanted to share that with you guys, let you see what it looks like. Because realistically, grieving is really a form of learning. And I know that kind of sounds like a little bit of a foreign concept, but
it's like getting cancer. People say it's a blessing.
Yeah,
not that anybody wants it, but
afterwards, it is a form of learning, and one that teaches us really how to continue to be in this world without somebody that we love. And that's one of the hardest lessons in life paths that you have to learn. Because it is the circle of life. You don't live forever, you know?
Yeah.
And when you're going through that grieving process, your mind is constantly bouncing around, running through scenarios of new habits and what is my new world going to look like? Who am I going to call when this situation arises? Who's going to be the support there? And it makes us have to find like a new normal. And we really wanted to share this with you guys. And I thought today would be a great time to sort of, if you're okay with this, ask you a few questions.
Yeah, that
I'm sure that a lot of people are wondering, and just kind of allow you to be vulnerable and hold this safe space for you to share what process you're at, how you're doing with all of this. And I think that's super helpful for you guys at home, because whether you're going through the grief process or you're helping somebody else go through it, these are all really important things. You need to know you're not alone, and you know that we're here.
Let me add 2 things. One, just because we're a therapist and a life coach, that doesn't mean you are not a therapist with your family, your friends, or anybody that you know.
Right.
You know that doesn't. You're not a therapist at that time. You're just a human being. Not that we're not human beings.
And the great thing about human beings, right, is that even though we're going through this grief process, we're learning a new way of life, a new normal, if you will. But our human bodies are built to survive. We are survivors. And right now you are sharing your grief survival story with us and going through it.
Barely surviving.
And I wanted to ask, you know, let's just kind of open this up.
Yeah,
How are you feeling?
Well, I'll tell you in a second. I feel like crap. But I'll tell you, I just wanted to say also, culturally, as Americans, we're not really taught, and it depends if you're religious or whatever else, but we're not really taught how to deal with death. It's something that I think we're more taught to fear it. We're taught to fear it, and we value youth. And if you look at like the Japanese culture, the Chinese culture, the Jordanian, the Arabic culture, they accept it. It's not that they don't mourn, but they're always preparing you for death, and it's okay. And they're not taught to fear it. And
I think they have a more focus on celebration of life as opposed to ending of a life.
Right. Yeah, and they have different beliefs. But anyways, culturally, we're taught to be afraid, and that's not helpful.
Well, that's why we're getting this conversation going. So why don't you share with us, how are you feeling today? It's been almost 2 weeks, a week and a half now, right?
Well,
it feels like a minute. I feel like I just blinked and we're here today.
It feels like time is just moving really quickly. I feel, horrible. The fact is, I feel horrible because this is my person that we were talking about. This is the person that I just love so much, as well as my children, everybody else. But this is my person, and
change is very scary.
Yeah.
anyway. And when you're forced into it unexpectedly,
Well, all we
That
can
makes
count
it
on
harder.
is change, death, and taxes in the United States. That's what everybody says.
amen.
But I feel like I'm in a fog. I'm hazy. I can't track, which you will probably see in this video. And I'm sorry to say, I just lose
But that's okay.
focus.
That's normal. And I think we want you guys to be able to see that this is happening
Yeah,
and that we're in this process. It's okay.
yeah, and we are doing a celebration of life and much more like, you know, humor. We're adding a lot of humor because my dad is chubby. Jay's from vacation. No, he's not chubby, but he really that's him, and that was my life. And just thinking about that.
Well, while you're
Makes
starting
me
this up, my next question, I thought it would be kind of nice. Why don't you share a story?
Okay.
Can you share a story with
Oh my
him? Tell us
gosh,
about one of the
there's
vacations.
There's so many funny stories. Okay, I think I'll give you. There's so many hysterical. Every time I do anything with my dad, his girlfriend and I are his best audience, and I just think he is the funniest person on the face of the earth. So here's an example of funny, but kind of not funny, but funny. Especially when my sister and I talk about it, and my dad would talk about it. And so we were in Mexico, and my sister is 7 years older than I am. And so for some reason, my sister thinks that she went out to dinner with us this particular night in Mexico, but she didn't. I want to say we were in near the Mayan ruins, wherever the heck that is. I can't remember because I was like 9. And so my dad and I go out to dinner, and I was always kind of like I was parentified. So I was like the little adult, always kind of watching out for my dad. Not that he didn't watch out for me, but, you know, he also lost me a lot of time. We can talk about that later. But anyways, we're in Mexico, and so he and I go out to dinner, and it's like a buffet, and my dad has a problem overeating, yet he likes to tell everybody, just eat lightly every day. Just eat really lightly. I'm doing his voice because that's just eat. You got to eat lightly. You just got to eat lightly. And I'm always like, Dad, that's not my issue. That's your issue. So anyways, we go to this restaurant, and my dad has a real thing for limes. Okay. And in Mexico, there's a lot of limes. And so a lot of lime dishes. So first he orders like 3 limeades. Okay. Like fresh, but like fresh, you know, like lemonade, but fresh. Yeah. And then he gets 2 lime entrees. I can't remember what they were. Maybe it was like chimichangas with like a lot of lime stuff. And then and at this point I'm like, Dad, I think you better be careful on the limes. Even at 9, I was like, Dad, you better be careful. Like we're in Mexico. You never, you know, even though we're at a decent hotel, like you better be careful. And then he orders like 3 key lime pies.
I knew you were going to say that.
Loves key lime pie. And I'm like, Dad, like, can't you just have like just 1, like not 3? And he's like, you know, this is delicious. You know, I just kind of can't stop myself. So we're done with dinner. He probably had more lime things. I just can't remember because it was a long time ago. And so we go up back to the hotel, and I was sleeping in a bed with my sister, and my dad was sleeping in the other bed. And then all of a sudden, for one, I'm terrified of throwing up. I'm terrified of other people throwing up, and not that I won't be there for them. And then I'm terrified of myself throwing up. So all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, my dad goes running towards the bathroom, but he doesn't make it. And he well, he did do more in the bathroom, but he projectile vomits all over the wall that's right next to my sister and my bed. Like our bed is almost up against the wall. And I was like, and my sister goes, shh, just ignore him. Just ignore him. And so I'm like, okay. So then I just sat there quietly as he was like vomiting. And I felt terrible. But my sister was like, it's his fault. He ate so many lime things and it's his fault. So he's projectile vomiting everywhere. So he's very sick at this point. Fine, but very sick. And so just, you know, the Mexican dream when you're in Mexico. This has happened to me too. And so the next morning, my sister and I go to the pool, but we have this balcony that you can look over the pool.
Oh, no.
And so we're playing in the pool or whatever, and my dad brings himself. He can barely move, and he pulls himself over the balcony, and he's like, kids, help me, I'm dying up here, kids. And my sister's like, just ignore him. Just go under the water and ignore him. And I was like, oh, I feel bad. She's like, just ignore him. So I'm like, okay. So I swim away and I go under the water. And my sister's like pretending to not hear him. See, my dad is very dramatic. He's calling for his mommy, who's dead at this time. So we come back upstairs. And my dad doesn't normally spank me. And I wasn't even the one that wanted to ignore him. But I get a spanking. And I'm like, but what? Like, I was just doing what my sister told me to do. Like, it wasn't a bad spanking, but we would just always die laughing that he was projectile vomiting. He would die laughing too later. And the fact that my sister...
He's calling for help.
And he's calling for help. And
I just abandoned him.
Yeah, and my sister was like, that's right, we ignored you. You're the idiot that ate too many lime entrees and lime... desserts, and now
overdid it. Yeah. And it's nice to doesn't it feel good to be talking about him?
I love it when I talk about the funny things, and there are literally
and I feel like
5,000 stories. Yeah.
So healing. So can you tell us one thing that you've been using to help you cope? Something, maybe a tool that you have, or a tip that sort of helped you cope over this last week and a half and get through?
This isn't really a tool per se. This is just because I'm focusing on getting everything ready with lawyers and the mortuary and getting the celebration of life, the party all prepared. I'm so busy with that I'm focusing on that. Doesn't mean I don't cry every single day and I'm not sad every single day, but it allows me a little bit of respite. So I'm probably I'm wavering between this denial.
It's good to keep busy.
Bargaining. Depression and anger.
Are you starting to feel more anger?
Yeah, I'm feeling anger at everything that's going on with my family, which we can talk about a little bit. I'm feeling anger at my dad for leaving me. And then I just go back to the bargaining of if I was there, he wouldn't have died. And he really wouldn't have died. I mean, I won't go into it, but he wouldn't have. I really believe he wouldn't have died if I was there, and that's my fault. So a lot of guilt.
But what you just said, right? That is your guilt, because that's not true. It's not true.
We can discuss this later.
It's not true. But that is the guilt coming out, right?
Yeah.
And the shame
and the bargaining of if I was there, he wouldn't have died.
And this is what I was saying in the beginning of the show. When you're going through grief, your brain is on fire, constantly running from one thing to the next. Of if I'd just done this, well, if this could happen, I should have been there.
It's a hamster in a wheel. It's a hamster in a wheel that's so hard to control. I'm not gonna lie. I have to take sleeping pills. I can't sleep.
Yeah. Which I think is pretty normal. A lot of people need a little bit of help. And that's actually one of the tips I'm going to share later, is to definitely keep your doctor in the loop and to talk to them. But So I kind of feel like you're saying with the grieving process, you're kind of in all of it. You're not at the denial, acceptance, but you're
a little bit of the denial, because I just am so focused on trying to get everything ready that I probably am trying not. Try not to deal with it.
About it.
Yeah, without even really recognizing it now that I'm talking about it.
Now, I just want to ask you this, because I feel this. I love astrology and different things like that. Have you felt your dad around at all in the last week and a half since he's been?
Yes. So I do believe, I am spiritual. So, and I do believe that people stay with us and in our hearts forever, and the love is always there no matter what. And so I kept thinking, why is my dad not coming to me in my dreams? Or why isn't he giving me a sign? Why aren't there a bunch of hummingbirds around saying, here, we're here? Because they're supposed to mean life, right? Or I don't know, they're happy birds. And so, but I went and I was about to play a sport, because I'm trying, that's something I've
For
only
you
done
got
it
from him.
once. Well, yes, and it's something I've only done once, but that's huge for me because it did bring it. I focused on what I was doing, and it did bring me out of it a bit. But as I was walking onto the court, I saw somebody that I know, and this person had this sweater on that was like a white, navy blue, and a light blue. And I'm from Newport Beach originally, and that's where my dad lives.
That's your dad was, yeah.
Yeah, and on this sweater thing that she had, it said salty. And immediately I looked at that and I was like, that's Newport Beach. That's from Newport Beach. I'm positive that sweater's from Newport Beach. I just thought Newport Beach, that represents Newport Beach. And then later I was like, maybe that's my dad. And it's funny, I said, instead of saying Newport Beach or anything about my dad, I'm not that good friends with her. I said salty. I said, so are you salty? Are you a Karen? She's like, or a Donna. I don't know what a Donna is. I don't think she knew what a Karen was. I was kidding around. And then she's like, you mean like salty and sweet? And I'm like, sure, And then I said, no, it's a really cute sweater. And she's like, oh, I got it in Newport Beach. And I was like, later I thought, and I'm like, that's my dad saying hi to me,
Yeah.
So
answering you and being there.
Yeah.
And I love those little bits of comfort. We talked a little bit about the range of emotions you've been feeling. Do you kind of feel like you're still all over the place, or
I'm all over the place.
Out a little bit?
I'm all over the place, and I can feel. I'm sorry.
I think that's to be expected. I feel people are too hard on themselves. They expect I should be normal. I had a week. I grieve for a day. I grieve for 2 weeks.
Right.
And it's not that way. It's not linear. It's one of the hardest, longest processes
not
to
linear
go through
at all. And they're lacking some. I love you, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, but they are lacking some issues. Sorry, I'm sweating from the stress. But I just wanted to say 2 other things. Definitely my immune system is breaking down because of the stress. Like I woke up with a double eye infection. I have a finger infection, and I haven't even done anything. And I just have all these random issues. And so,
that's what stress and anxiety and depression will do to us.
And you're sympathetic.
You want to talk to all these poor people with chronic pains and stuff. We need to start looking what's going on in their brains.
Right.
And fixing there.
And
because it does cause physical ailments like that.
It's a dual pathway, or there is a single path, whatever. They both affect each other. And the other thing that I didn't add, but I definitely have wanted to isolate myself, but certain people, she's one of them, when I said, just leave me alone, not in a mean way, but I just want to be by myself and lie in bed and stare at the wall. That's what I want to do. And I just stare. I don't even watch Netflix. I don't do anything. I don't read a book. I just stare at the wall. And I've had 2 friends, one of my best friends down in Newport. I said, I don't want, just leave me alone. I love you, but just leave me alone. She shows up at my door. She's like, no, I'm not leaving you alone. You're eating this lunch, and I'm setting up everything for the funeral house. And I was like, thank you. Don't leave me now that you're here. And same with Lindsey.
But this is one of the most important things that you can possibly do if you have someone in your life grieving, and that's just to be there and listen. I appreciate and understand you don't want to get out of bed. I'll come get in with you, and we'll both look at the wall together. I'll just be there and grieve with you. Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of it is about, is just that I'm not going to try to cheer you up. This is not a cheerful situation, nor should you, as the person trying to care for the person that's grieving, put that burden on yourself that you need to cheer them up. They don't need that. They just need to be heard and listened and not alone.
Or just to sit next to them.
Yeah. So now I'd want to give you guys just a few tips as we kind of wrap things up here. Just if you are going through the grief process, some things that I've noticed as I've been watching you, and in my own practice, I just want to share with you guys. I think I have like 10 or 11 tips here that I wrote down. But 1, accept some loneliness. You are learning how to have a new life now. You have to find your new normal. You're going to have to accept that for a little while. There is going to be a void in your life, and that's okay.
Yeah,
right?
And what I want to add to this,
please.
I spend every Easter with my dad, and it's coming up, and I'm panicked. I'm really panicked, and I don't have my kids this Easter, so I'm really panicked.
Neither do I. So we'll do something special.
We'll be together. We'll go to brunch together alone.
We should do our Conscious Street Talk on brunch on Easter. We'll invite you guys along.
So panicked. That's another thing. Panic of like panicked of all the holidays that I spend
Yeah.
with him that I won't be with him
Yep.
for.
And that's why next tip is to really choose good company to be around. You don't want to be around the friend who's going to suck your energy dry. You want to be around the person that just gets it, that can sit there quietly with you for 5 hours if you need that and cry, that can throw something against the wall and be angry and pissed off with you, or can laugh with you if you need to. Whatever you need,
Your
really
safe
choosing your
person,
company
safe
is important.
person, yeah.
Be gentle and kind to yourself, please. I know we say this a lot. It is a hard process.
It's really hard to be gentle
You're
and
doing
kind with yourself.
amazing going through it though, and that's why I keep telling you every day, like, no, I'm proud of you for even just picking up the phone. Like, you're doing a great job. You want to make sure that you get a lot of rest. You want to get extra rest, and you also want to set a sleep schedule, because all too quickly when we're grieving, we can get thrown off of our regular cycles, and that can cause a lot of damage to all of us.
And
Okay?
like I said, it's so hard.
Even if you have to start taking sleeping medications for a small period of time, melatonin is a great natural resource. I use melatonin for sleeping, during hard times. You also want to embrace all of your emotions. And I know you have gone through a lot of this, and you are very accepting of how you're feeling in the moment. I've been sitting with you where we're laughing and telling a story, and all of a sudden the tears just start pouring, and we're both all of a sudden in tears. And, like lunatics, but that's the process, and that's okay. You want to make sure you keep your body moving, even if it's just a little walk. Even in the early days, just getting out of bed, walking around your room, going in, taking something dishes, and get back into bed.
And it's something I don't want to do at all.
No,
you should
nobody
see my
wants to.
house right now, and I can't even force myself to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
I forced myself to do it one day, and I felt so much better, but I just don't.
It's
don't wanna
hard.
do it.
You want to talk to your doctor, keep them in the loop. I think we already said that. Keep them in the loop about what's going on. You can ask for help. Certainly, they're there if you need them. You do want to keep structure in your day, and this is something you were saying earlier, that this has really been helping you, and that's focusing on creating a celebration of life and getting, continuing to work and getting yourself out there, stepping up for your kids and still being there. Keeping that structure in your everyday sometimes can be like the only lifeline, right? You want to keep setting goals, little ones for yourself. Today, I'm going to get the dishes done.
That would
Right?
be a nice
Today I'm
gesture.
just going to make the bed, or I'm going to get the laundry over here, or I'm going to call one client, or I'm going, whatever it is, keep small goals for yourself so you can not only feel productive at the end of the day, but you don't lose yourself, you don't fall out. Making a list of daily activities is also very helpful, because during this time period, you're going to be very forgetful. This brain fog that we've talked about a couple of times, it hits hard, and that's with any kind of trauma. So making a daily list will help you to stay on track. It also helps you to feel more productive at the end of the day and less lost, if that makes sense. During this time period, you and I have talked about this, you do not want to make any major changes.
Don't
You
make
wanna
any
let
major decisions.
Life changes. Like, you want to let yourself settle, let yourself adjust, find your new normal, then make your changes. And lastly, you guys, take care of yourself. Take care of your inner needs. Spend that self-love time. Take that bath. Take an extra 3 hours and sleep if you need to, or just cuddle up in your bed with, your favorite stuffed animal or your dog. I know your dog has brought you
three-legged dog is
a
just
lot of
quite
comfort.
a little man.
So Katie will not be back till Monday, but we are going to not be on Monday. We're going to have a little montage for Mr. Hutchinson on that day. And on Friday, I'm going to have Abigail here. So you guys will get to meet my daughter, and we're going to have kind of a discussion on how to talk to kids about grieving while Katie is preparing the celebration of life ceremony.
And most importantly, the tip of the day is don't eat too much lime, because you'll projectile vomit.
And we don't want that to happen.
So happy hump day.
All right, you guys, we love you. We're here for you if you're grieving. Thank you for sharing all this
You're
with
welcome.
Katie. You're so brave.
Thank you.
You guys don't go